It is Friday, May 23rd, and Elon Musk and DOGE discovering mass corruption and fraud in the final weeks of the Biden administration. What can only be described as theft, pure, unadulterated theft. 93 billion with a B laundered out of the DOE, the Department of Energy, in the final weeks of that administration. We're going to show you what happened. Also, Trump tripling down on his promise to force manufacturing back to this country, announcing 50% tariffs on the EU, the European Union, starting next week. And you'll never guess who the DNC is now promoting to be their next spokesman. This is great, something you're going to want to see. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. Elon and DOGE announcing a major discovery this morning. The Biden administration laundering $93 billion from the DOE to their friends, donors, and like-kind organizations. That's what it looks like. $93 billion, billion with a B. And get this, all of the money, all $93 billion of our tax money loaned out within the last few weeks of the administration, all happening after Trump won the election and before he was sworn in on January 20th. $93 billion in loans and grant applications submitted to the DOE, approved by Jennifer Granholm, all within a period of 76 days. In a 76-day period, the Loan Program Office at DOE somehow, in 76 days, somehow was able to receive, vet, approve, and send $93 billion of our money out the door. To put this into context, $93 billion is well over twice as much as the DOE sent out in loans over the previous 15 years. So in the final 76 days of Biden's term, they paid out more than twice what they had in the previous 15 years. In 76 days. And as DOGE began investigating who received these loans, where our money actually went, it turns out there's very little information on the recipients of this money. The entities who submitted these loan applications were almost all brand new, had no financials, no business plans. These were brand new organizations that were likely formed for the specific intent to receive this money. Can you say money laundering? You can't make this up. Watch.
Mr. Secretary, I want to go back to some of your earlier testimony, be sure I heard it correctly. The 76-day period you're talking about, that's the period between the time that President Trump was elected and President Biden left office. Is that right?
That is correct.
And during that short period of time, 76 days, how much taxpayer money went out the door of the Department of Energy?
From the Loan Program Office in loans and commitments, $93 billion. Well over twice as much as in the previous 15 years. So,
how do you vet and do due diligence on a loan in 76 days? One loan, much less $93 billion. How do you do it?
I think it's probably pretty clear it wasn't done in many cases. As I mentioned, I'm told I'm holding back clearly in place stuff. There is lots of funds that have gone out the door and commitments that were made from businesses that provided no business plan, no numbers about their own financial solvency or how this project
So you're telling me that the Department of Energy, in the 76-day period, before their boss was going to leave office, gave or loaned money to entities that had no business plan?
Correct.
No financials?
Correct. A number of those were before the 76-day period as well. I've come in with great concern about how this institution, this great American institution, has been run and how American taxpayer money has been handled. I'm sorry everyone's upset that we're taking some time to do it, but what we've seen and what the record shows
I'm
is
not
just
upset. Could it be that a lot of people say you haven't returned your calls? Could it be that you and your colleagues have returned the calls, but the people calling just didn't like the answer? Could that be a possibility?
I'm not aware of that. I give my cell phone number to any senator that wants
I know you
it,
do.
and I return my calls.
I mean, has your department gone dark? Somebody said your department's gone dark. Is it dark over there?
It doesn't look dark behind me.
I don't see any of you sitting on your hands. Somebody made that charge. I see everybody's hands. Let me ask you something else, Mr. Secretary. Does anybody ever come to the Department of Energy to get some of this free money and lie to you?
I have not experienced that, but I think it's a reasonable assumption that has happened.
Does anybody ever come to you? Or is it conceivable that some of these folks that heard about this free money came to you with a half-baked idea?
I think it's very conceivable. In fact, I've seen such plans that were half-baked would be charitable.
That didn't have a business plan, right?
Correct. A promise to develop one, to find a location.
Just give me the money and I'll develop the plan later.
Correct.
And now you're going back through, not money that's already been contracted, but you're going back through and checking each one of these loans and these grants to make sure there was no stealing, aren't you?
We are.
We are. Make sure there was no incompetence, aren't you? Is that correct?
We're looking at that, and yeah, my blood pressure is rising right now just thinking about what we have seen and what did happen at the department.
And you're going to...
Now, who at DOE approved these loans? Who was the boss over there under Biden? That would be Jennifer Granholm, a rank partisan, a left-wing activist. That's what she is. She was a governor as well in a past life, but this was her after being approved by the Senate in 2021, promising to achieve net zero emissions in the United States, a promise she and the Biden administration failed to deliver on, even though they spent this $93 billion plus $2 trillion from the Inflation Reduction Act. Watch this.
We all face an imperative to address climate change. The UN's IPCC report was clear. We are at code red for humanity. For too long, the conversation around climate change was wrongly framed as a choice between prosperity or austerity. But today, we see that transitioning to a net zero economy represents a great economic opportunity, a global clean energy market that will grow to at least $23 trillion US dollars by 2030.
And these are the same people who are right now, at this moment, jumping up and down about Trump's new big, beautiful bill that cuts taxes, ends tax on tips, ends tax on overtime. They're upset about that while they're taking our hard-earned money, taking that tax money from your tips, from your overtime, taking it and just wasting it, throwing it away to God knows who. Unbelievable. In another story, President Trump doubling, tripling down on his pledge to reshore American manufacturing, reverse the decades of failed policy, failed leadership that saw our manufacturing base stripped away and shipped abroad. For weeks, Dems in the media telling us that Trump wasn't serious about this, that it was all just an act, that as soon as things got tough, he folded and paused his reciprocal tariffs. Well, he paused them for 90 days because he was in negotiation, because 85 of our largest trading partners committed to negotiate new trade agreements. He wasn't reneging on his commitment to onshore manufacturing. He's in the process of fixing all of this. On April 9th, when he paused the reciprocal tariffs, he said then he's giving these countries 90 days to negotiate in good faith. They all committed to do that. He said, at that time, if you don't do this, if I believe you're not serious about these negotiations, we won't wait 90 days. We're going to reinstate the tariffs immediately. And this morning, he did exactly that, announcing he will be levying a new 50% tariff on the EU, on the European Union, starting next week, starting on June 1st. Watch.
I've been saying to everybody, they've treated us very badly over the years. It was formed in order to hurt the United States, in order to take advantage of the United States, and they've done that. We have a big deficit with them. They sell millions and millions of cars, as you know, Mercedes and BMW and Volkswagen and many others, and we were restricted from, essentially restricted from selling cars into the European Union, which is not nice. And I just said it's time that we play the game the way I know how to play the game. You know, they've taken advantage of other people representing this country, and they're not going to do that any longer. Yeah.
Trump posting on Truth Social this morning, the European Union, which was formed for the primary purpose of taking advantage of the United States on trade, has been very difficult to deal with. Their powerful trade barriers, VAT taxes, ridiculous corporate penalties, non-monetary trade barriers, monetary manipulations, unfair and unjustified lawsuits against American companies, and more have led to a trade deficit with the U.S. of more than $250 billion a year, a number which is totally unacceptable. Our discussions with them are going nowhere. Therefore, I'm recommending a straight 50% tariff on the EU starting on June 1st, 2025. There is no tariff if the product is built or manufactured in the United States. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I really don't think he could be more honest or straightforward with his trade policy. He's doing exactly what he said he would. He told them if you mess around, the tariffs are going back on. Simple as that. And that's what happened. Likewise, announcing American companies, big American companies, companies like Apple, who are choosing to build their products overseas, build their products in China and India and Indonesia, Vietnam, or wherever. It doesn't matter how big you are. If you don't build your products in the States, you must pay a tariff. Telling Tim Cook this morning, I have long ago informed Tim Cook of Apple that I expect their iPhones that will be sold in the U.S. be manufactured in the U.S., not in India or any place else. If that is not the case, a tariff of at least 25% must be paid by Apple to the U.S. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Trump's as serious as you could be on fixing this mess that we find ourselves in, fixing the mess where nothing is built in this country anymore. We're a purely import-based economy. A healthy economy has a balance, a healthy balance between imports to exports, 50-50, 40-60, something like that. You import and you export. We import almost entirely all of the products that we consume. Over 90% or something of the products consumed are imported into this country. It's unsustainable and a very difficult problem to solve at this stage. Something, you know, if it wasn't for Trump, probably would never have been addressed. In another story, the Democrats' party vice chair, David Hogg, who is actively, by the way, facing a revolt right now from his own party leadership. On May 12th, the DNC Credentials Committee voted to void his election, the election that made David Hogg vice chair of the DNC, citing procedural errors relating to gender diversity. Well, he's still vice chair at the moment of the party. He's still forming party policy, choosing which party members move up the chain. His election wasn't voided yet. They just voted to void it. But at the moment, he's still vice chair. And you won't believe who David Hogg is promoting to be the spokesperson for his party. Jasmine Crockett. On the Breakfast Club this morning, Hogg is touting Jasmine Crockett as the ideal role model for the party, saying, I love her. She is amazing. I think Jasmine is frankly the type of leader that we're really looking to support and get into a position in leadership. You can't make this up. Watch.
Jasmine Crockett.
Jasmine Crockett, I love her. Mm-hmm. She is amazing.
Yeah.
I think that people want to see somebody who fights and calls out the bullshit, ultimately. I think that's what Jasmine does, and we need a hell of a lot more people that are out there that are willing to do just that and call people out on their BS and not say, oh my God, Republicans are going to criticize me for saying this. Screw that. They're going to criticize you no matter what. So what we should be asking ourselves is, what are we really fighting for? Because we know it matters. And I think Jasmine is frankly the type of leader that we're really looking to support in some senses, right? Somebody who is out there that frankly doesn't give a damn what the other side, at least the elected Republicans in Congress say what they believe in. And at least even if you don't agree with her, you know what she stands for. Yeah. Because she makes it very clear. And people are really craving that right now. They don't want more politicians that say talking points that it doesn't even feel like they believe, or you don't even really know what they mean. They want somebody who's out there that says what they believe and doesn't care what somebody else thinks about it. They want that authenticity.
All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.